Good morning, everyone. Sorry about that. Apparently, I forgot to open up the room a little bit earlier there. 1 second here. We'll get the screen share going. Okay, we're off and running. Again, my apologies. The market off to a soft start. We had a little bit of a run up through the overnight. It looks like we've got a little bit of a gap below the open. Yesterday, the market primarily bearish, even though it was a bit of a wild ride. Some substantial pullbacks, which again is going to be characteristic of a market that is changing trend or possibly changing trend. So we'll see which way they may be inclined to go this morning. Opening gaps are always tricky. The thing with an opening gap, so we've got a market that was essentially heading lower yesterday. And then we open up here. So we have this gap down here, and a lot of traders are always thinking the market's going to fill the gap, because the market does fill gaps. It doesn't always fill gaps immediately, however. Last year we saw the market make several very large gaps that actually didn't get filled until a couple of weeks ago. So those gaps were existing for several months. However, normally we do see the market fill the gap or attempt to fill the gap the same day. So you got these two conflicting forces. You've got the acceleration of the market, which is essentially what a gap is, conflicting with the tendency, the market tendency to try to fill that gap. And you're never really sure which one is going to be dominant. As usual, though, if you don't know, there's usually no harm in waiting it out. And we got a strong counter trend signal here to start. The market has retraced back to the hard edge, which is the target for these counter trend signals. I'm not so sure I would have jumped on that one, but it did work out all the same. Waiting is definitely the hard part in trading. I suppose that comes from, working for a living. You're used to doing something. If I'm not working, I'm not making money. If I'm not trading, I'm not making money. Well, yes and no. If the market isn't moving, or if the market is moving the wrong way, you're not making money. And these periods of possible transition when the market, on the larger picture, here we go. There's the big picture, the daily. When the market is possibly doing a trend reversal, note this day right here, yesterday. See the volume attached to that day? That was the biggest volume day we had seen in 1, 2, 3, 4, at least 4 sessions. 1, 2, 3, 4. These were some pretty big rally bars. And so what that tells me is that there was quite a bit of selling going on here. This bar, even though there was a lot of activity here, and there was obviously some buying going on, but there was more selling. How can I say that? Well, the bar finished low. So all that increasing volume means that the sellers are getting interested as the market trades above 7,000 and around the 70-50 zone. Let's put that away. We're back into the hard edge now on the Eagle and the Raptor. So we're going to expect a little bit of a pushback. And this pushback will tell us a lot if the market comes back here now and ends up giving us a decent test of the extreme in this case being the high, and then fails, well then we know, or we have a pretty good idea that the market may be heading lower. However, if it recovers, well then we can look to buy. A very, very early trend change signal here. That's the cloud crossover on the Raptor. Signal producing right here. Cloud's not fully crossed, but almost crossed all the way. Let's see, what's that going to cost me to be wrong? Ooh, I can't do it. That's what it's going to cost. All right, the Falcon's going to produce a late filter entry right here. again, a little bit of a tough trade. Nuts. All right, well, that's why I have the trade manager to keep me out of these trades I can't afford, even though the trade is very likely going to come down here and find my profit objective. I'll frame it for you with a tighter stop, just so we can see it. But it's going to be out of reach for me. So I can't take it because there's no structure here, right? I'm expecting a little bit of a pullback higher. What's the point placing my stop just above this swing high when there's a good chance I'll get tagged out? The proper stop, and there is such a thing as a proper stop, in this case, needs to go above this high. Just have to wait for a slightly better setup, that's all. So a fair amount of activity now around the 69.30 zone. You can see here on the hawk, we're starting to get that sideways drift into yellow bars. Technically, this is a 4-arrow consolidation, so it is a saleable formation. And there should be enough in there for your scalp target. So there's the 4-arrow consolidation signal right there. And there you go. You hit your profit target. That's a nice thing about scalping, is it's usually not too much of a strain for the market to get to your profit objective. All right, well, just keep watching and waiting. Okay, so here we go. We're getting the little bit of a downward drift now from the late filter entry signal, which was right about here. Oh, it doesn't look like it's all the way there yet. No, only dipped about halfway. The Raptor here now trying to produce a cloud crossover signal, but I'm still thinking there needs to be a little bit more in the way of a test of the extreme. Why do I say that? Well, look at what preceded it. We had a pretty decent run up a couple of hours before the open. The market was steadily plodding along. And then out of the open, we got the quick reverse. But what happened to all those buyers? Are all those buyers just going to let that go? No, probably not. And here we go. There's that test of the extreme now that we're watching for. By the way, this is technically your first in-sync eagle signal this morning. For those of you who like to do that trade, there it is, the first in-sync eagle signal. All right, well, let's put that away for now too. Just gonna have to wait it out a little bit just to see what it's doing. All right, possible. Well, we've already had an early trend change here on the hawk. We're getting a little bit of a retest now on the eagle, and a trend change, a cloud crossover here on the falcon and the raptor. So this is what I was talking about. This is an important moment for this market. If this fails now, if this breakout fails, there's a very good chance we're going to head lower. So we can wait for a second push on this one. And we'll see if the sellers come back. Because what we're looking for here is a test of the extreme. Now, to be fair, I could very well have, oh, it looks like it will reach the profit objective had I just taken it on the hash mark. Because there was a fair amount of room here to retest the extreme. Oh wow, the buyers are a little bit stronger than I anticipated. So the eagle signal finding its target. That was the first in sync eagle signal right there. The raptor signal and the falcon signal both finding their targets, and the hawk signal easily finding its target. So it almost appears as though we've got ourselves a bullish trend going on here today. Yep, Julian, I would agree here with Julian's statement. She says the hardest part of trading is waiting for the proper setup. And sometimes by waiting, you will miss moves like this. Yeah, Steve asked, why would the buyers be stronger than anticipated? For over a year, the buyers have been strong like Superman. Yes, that's true, Steve, but given where I can place my stops, I was thinking perhaps a reversal. So again, back to the daily chart. Yes, it's true. You know, the buyers, the market has been in a long rally up until a few weeks ago when we had that little reset. And to be honest, like Steve's right, anytime you try to seriously short the stock indices, whether it be the NASDAQ, the Russell, the E-mini, you're usually going to find yourself on the wrong side of the market. It is an easier market to buy than it is to sell. But here this morning, because of this quick little move out of the gate, and because of yesterday's rather bearish day, I wasn't sure whether the sellers were going to be stronger today or whether the buyers are going to be stronger. And even now, it's not clear. We've got a little bit of a double top type thing going on. You can see there's some selling coming back into the market. So longer term, I agree 100%. If you can afford the stops, go ahead, just buy it, hold on to it. And even for today, I think you could be right that we're going to see a rally. This was a very nice move back to the high of the morning here on the part of the buyers. I would like to see maybe a hard edge bounce now. Oh, they may not give that to me though. Here's one of these discretionary signals, these follow-up signals that you can get on board with. similar problem to what I was looking at before, but to the opposite end now. Can you buy here? Sure you can. Stop placement is the tricky part. Stops should at least be at the hard edge, ideally even below here, below the 69.36 zone. And honestly, you know, sometimes the market catches you by surprise. Sometimes it does something you weren't thinking it would do. And as such, you're just waiting for the next one. Well, we've just taken out the highs of the morning. So when are we? We're a half hour into the day. So opening range expiring. And it sounds like, pardon me, sounds like, it looks like the market in an uptrend for today. But we may have to wait for a little bit of a pullback. And we're just watching and waiting. Sometimes there's nothing else you can do. All right, so looks like we may get a number 2 signal here. I'd like to see a little bit of another retest. Come on, get up there a little. Well, that's not much of a test to the extreme, but that may be all we're going to get. Let's see what the Falcon working an early trend change. No signal yet on the Hawk, although we may get a red bar buy that we can sell. And now here comes the Raptor and the Falcon with that sell signal. So we do have a test of the extreme here and a chance to short. Oh, looks like I even got a little positive slippage on that one. So just looking for a retest, a move back here to the hard edge. They're fighting a little bit here. Come on down. Oh, darn it. So close. One thing about counter trend trades, or this may be a larger with trend trade based on yesterday's trend, you know where to place your stops. Your stops going above that high. And we got a little bit of a sideways struggle going on here. Okay, we should get the break even at this point. Come on, let's get that follow through now. You can do it. Okay, I'm going to put a little bit of a squeeze on the market as we get closer to the hard edge. I'm going to run my bar high low strategy, which is a very aggressive stop strategy. The next most aggressive strategy are your parabolics. They would be back here a little bit. But the way things are today, I think I'll be good with the bar high low. All right, got bounced out on that premature reaction to the second trading band. This is actually a reaction now to the first band, but I'll take it. And put that away for now. Overall, I think we're looking at a more bullish market overall. And it may be prudent to look for another buying opportunity. Oh, Julian, she's quite bullish this morning. She's got a big target, 69.74 and a quarter. So that would kind of put us close to yesterday's highs, not quite. I guess about almost 3/4 of the way to yesterday's highs. Market moving a little bit slower today as well. Seems we've lost a little bit of that volatility. Well, we're just kind of flip-flopping here again. Looks like we might get a late filter entry on the Falcon, but it's a little tough to get too aggressive on the short side. Good question here from Dan. Dan asks, what percentage would you say these counter trend trades work out? You know, Dan, if the setup is ideal, it's as good a trade as any. The problem is a lot of times the counter trend trades are not ideal setups, and those are the ones that cause you grief. When in doubt, avoid the counter trend. When I go through my trading journal, the vast majority of my losing trades are counter trend attempts. Plain and simple. The problem with a counter trend trade, of course, is it blocks you from taking your with trend trade. And that's not what we want. So I would say, like I say, if you're in doubt, just avoid them. Here I'm asleep at the switch, but here is our with trend number 3 signal now, our hard edge bounce, and that should get up to its profit objective as we retest the highs. There we go. No, you're much better off waiting for the with trend signal. Counter trend signals they can develop into a big move. A lot of times the move will be much smaller than the with trend leg. The attraction of the counter trend signal is twofold. Normally, you know exactly where your stop needs to go. Right? So stop placement, normally a little bit tighter. This one I took 2 contracts on. I could have just as easily just taken the one and reduced the risk by half. Right? So for $165, I can have a trade going here. The other attraction of a counter trend move is that they usually move really fast. This one didn't. The one here this morning had a very quick move to the downside. So that always gets traders excited. Right? When you see the market unfolding really, really fast and you happen to be in those moves, that's a great experience, right? The market's just chugging along and you're making money and you don't have to sweat any pullbacks or anything. So that's what makes counter trend trades always so darn attractive. But probability wise, no, you're right. They don't usually work out unless the conditions are just right. This right here, the one that I just did, the conditions were better because, well, it doesn't look like it here on the Raptor, but if we looked at the Eagle, this is kind of a double top type thing. Well, even here on the Eagle, it's a little bit spread out. But that's essentially what it is. It's a little bit of a double top, a breakout. We're going to look for the retest. But it does look like we have a little bit of an upward bias today. And now they're holding back again. Well, when they start to struggle like this is when you look for those tests of the extreme and perhaps a breakdown below a swing point. Might not get another trade here this morning. Kind of hit a sideways funk. Okay. Trying to test the bottom end now. Quick little move lower, again characteristic of counter trend. And looks like we're going to retest the hard edge. and here comes that bounce. Yeah, maybe Russell says maybe a slow grind up to the 70-30 area. You see, here's the issue is ever since this the daily chart again, ever since this monster pullback, and we broke this last swing low. Note that before then, every swing low held, which is characteristic of an uptrend, right? Here we broke the swing low, so technically the uptrend is no longer intact. This leads a lot of traders to believe, myself included, that we're going to enter a rather sustained sideways trading period. So as we get closer toward the highs here, sellers are going to get more interested. After all, this is where they sent the market heading lower last time. So it's very reasonable to assume there's more sellers waiting up here. So what I'm looking for now is evidence that the highs will hold. So we've already broken yesterday's lows. Now we're going to trade up. If the market turns again, then that's a pretty good sign we're going to head lower, at least for the short term. I'm not going to get too crazy on the short side. You can see here on your charts, there's some resistance around 6,800. Again, down here at 6,700, and then down here around 65, 6,600. So it seems like the even numbers, those whole numbers, are going to be pretty popular when and if the market heads lower. So that's kind of my way of thinking about the market right now. But for today, you know, we are in an uptrend. I'm sorry that I do need to close down the trading room this week. I'm only able to host the room for an hour in the morning, but I will see you again tomorrow. If you're trading the rest of the day here, I would favor the buyers, but just a little bit. I wouldn't try to get too crazy one way or the other. All right, I'll talk to you tomorrow then. Bye for now.